Hey, here we go. And we're live. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new campaign. We're playing Burning Wheel by Luke Crane, and this is a game set in sort of like the Paizo universe, kind of, and like heavily inspired by their adventure path called Kingmaker. If you don't know what that is, that's great. Just know that if you like Game of Thrones, you're in the right spot. Before we jump in or anything like that, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my friends and fans who showed up here to play and watch us play and burn our characters for this game, as well as I want to do a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. So I want to do a quick little shout out to Tice, to John, to Kelsa, to Sam, to Boris, to Fraser. Guys, thank you so much. Josh, Adam, Dylan, Will, Ben, John, and Tony. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And let's go around and introduce ourselves, and then we'll get into the character burning and stuff, shall we? So let's go around the horn, starting in the top left. We have our friendly fellow streamer, AP Gaming. Why are you shaking? What?
I mean, the use of certain keywords may not be indicative of actual truth of product.
What?
Ooh.
What?
I just had to front in some disclaimers. I'm AP Gaming Real. I run a Kingmaker game with Eric on Saturday nights. So when he started talking about doing Burning Kingmaker, I was like, yo, what's up, dog?
Yeah, man. So how can people find you? What do you do on the internet?
I mean, clearly, the name AP Gaming Real is so monolithic in the community. You know that you have to go to Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook at AP Gaming Real, and from all those fine locations, you can follow my journey across the internet into RPG heaven.
Okay.
I play 6 games a week now.
The RPG Promised
My
Land.
life. Yep.
The RPG Promised Land.
I don't think RPG heaven is the best heaven to get into.
I respectfully
There are
disagree
better
with
heaven.
you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just sort of imagine like
It's better than getting into
pulling out
bullets.
his arms and getting carried up.
It's better than RPG Hell.
Oh God.
The only game they play there is D&D 4th edition.
Oh God.
I could think of worse games.
I was gonna say
I'm gonna be
Rips,
honest. I was
dog.
gonna say like Fatal.
No, I mean in
Riffs.
RPG hell, right? Like the GM has a favorite at the table that's not you.
Oh yeah.
The GM will never let you deviate from his perfectly perfected plan. The GM lies to you and then says things like, "I can't believe you believed me." Like when you ask, "How many dudes are there?" Like there's no check or anything. It's just like, "Oh, there's like 8," and it turns out there's like 20. It's like, "Why would you believe me?" Ha 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 ha. RPG hell is.
So what you're saying is any Cthulhu campaign ever.
Oh,
You've been playing with the wrong people, my friend.
yeah. Cool. Sam, what's up? Glad to have you back, my friend. So glad you joined us.
It's been
Yeah.
way too long. It's been
Yeah.
way too long. I've been good. Not enough games in my life lately, but when I heard that you were thinking about running a Burning Wheel campaign, I had to do it. Because I'm running my own campaign, and it is not enough. I wanted to be on the other side of the table as well and experience the pain of playing a Burning Wheel character.
Yeah. In fact, in a lot of ways, playing Burning Wheel is more difficult than GMing it, which is really cool. Because this is going to be my first time GMing it. But I have been a player for about like 15 sessions or so in one game. I feel like I'm grokking it enough that I feel comfortable doing this. So so I'm so glad to have someone else who's played before as to double check my rulings and have.
I'll
different
try to be
ideas.
as unintrusive as I can when rules things come up.
No, it'd be awesome.
It'd be annoying.
Yeah, awesome, great. Wreckage.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? So glad to
Hi.
finally play with you again, and
Oh man, so me and Eric, I mean, we just started a super secret project thing that isn't finished yet. But before then, we had interacted only occasionally, doing a couple fiascos. Had a blast every single time. So I'm very excited to actually play live with EricVulgaris here on the EricVulgaris network, on the EricVulgaris Nation. I am Dr. Wreckage. I do a lot of TTRPGs. A huge portion of them are with Arthur. A huge portion of them are now also with Eric, having changed only in the last week. and the rest are over on Henley's channel. But if you want to figure out when and why and how that is all happening, you can follow me at Dr. Wreckage, spelled exactly like my name, below Wreckage on the display there. So please follow me on Twitter to hear about that. I also stream Magic the Gathering online.
Yeah, and then it's much smaller font. I also stream.
I also stream that thing that I don't think this audience cares about.
Awesome.
I care about it, Wreckage.
It's true. He was there yesterday when we got completely destroyed.
Cool.
It
And
happens. It happens.
I've watched you a few times stream it.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like sit there and I'm wondering why you aren't playing a sliver deck, but you know.
I don't
'Cause I
know much
play
about the
limited.
interface of MTO
I'm just
online, but
I still enjoy the original 151 when I talk about Pokemon. So
No,
I
I'm
thought
with
you were
with
going to
the
say
Pokemon.
Bacardi. All right.
I actually do. That's about the only Bacardi I do enjoy. Kind of completely dulls my senses, so I don't know I'm drinking garbage.
Ouch.
Well, all right. And last but not least, Michael MTO. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm Michael. On the internet, I'm MTO something most of the time. I'm a game designer, and I used to stream more often until I moved, and then that became much harder. I've played a video game with Eric once, and it was the Ghost in the Shell game that was made by Nexon. And that was really fun, but I was very bad at it. So I'm excited to get to play with him, and it's something I might actually succeed at.
Yeah.
I'm hyped.
Awesome. So I'm so glad we can all be here and get ready to play. What I'm going to do real quick before we jump into describing our characters and doing all that kind of stuff is I wanted to go over a little bit about the world for us and our audience, for those who may not be familiar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually kind of read a little bit from the primer that I sent everybody. That's the wrong thing. So, we're playing the sort of like a twisted version of the Kingmaker adventure path from Paizo, and instead of dealing with whatever the other books and all the different small things in the game, I'm basically just taking the core premise of the game and kind of just going to run with that. So this game's going to be about adventuring, conquering, and kingmaking, believe it or not. Ultimately, we're going to be a small group of people from one country, which I'll describe in a little bit, and we're going to be kind of starting and finding a new one on the borders. And so in order to like understand that a little bit, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the backdrop of the country that we're from. So if you picture sort of like Poland or Romania or Bulgaria, like Eastern Russia, like Slavic type of stuff, kind of like The Witcher in terms of a fantasy kind of realm. We're all hail from this country called Brevoy, and the history of Brevoy can mostly be summed up by the history of actually two countries that were united into one by a conqueror. The first country is Issia, and that's sort of like the northern half of the country. If you think of like from Game of Thrones, House Greyjoy, they don't really farm. It's too cold and rocky. They're far more like competent fishers and raiders. Meanwhile, the southern half of this country of Brevoy is far more like farmland. It's more like the Riverlands and like House Tully style stuff. A little bit of the Starks and the different parts, but it's far more like suitable soil for tilling, farming, raising, shepherding, mining, and that's the country called Rossland. Well, both of those countries were kind of like at odds with each other for a long time, and then this one guy comes across, this barbarian king comes across the Lake of Mists and Veils with a couple dragons in tow, and essentially just makes everybody bend the knee to him. The last people to bend the knee were Rosslanders. They all got kind of destroyed in what was called the Valley of Fire, which was like an epic battle. And since then, this country has sort of become one under this barbarian. However, where our game picks up is a little bit after what was called the Disappearance. Now, if you guys are familiar with like the Left Behind or like the Rapture, essentially the entire dynasty of this conqueror, this king of House Rogarvia. Don't worry, I'll have a wiki, or like I'll send out this link to in the description show notes, so it might be easier to follow along from there. But essentially, that entire line disappears overnight. No one knows where they went. It's a complete mystery, and so now this kingdom that's formerly two countries is left without a king or any like actual heir. The house that was married to that sort of kingdom, so they don't have their actual blood, but they have the closest claim to the throne, I guess would be the best way of putting it. They're currently serving as regents, and they're a house of Isia, right? They're Greyjoy type people. Obviously, the Rosslyn people aren't a big fan of that. They currently think that we should be looking for another heir of House Rogarvia instead of them. But we're kind of in this, and we're going to start the game in this sort of like precarious situation where we have the Isian House Tertova, who are sort of like regents right now, who are really gunning to become king and queen. But in order to do that, they have to have votes, right? They have to have a king's moot where all the major dukes will vote for them. In order to get some of the Rosslanders to vote for them, Rossland, particularly a lot of people in the south, kind of for a quid pro quo, like maybe like, hey, we might support you if you expand our borders and give us more kind of territory, protecting countries, let us go pacify the lands to our south so we can trade more with countries in the south instead of bandits and stuff. And sort of as a deal to kind of like curry favor for that, all of these different charters have been made to sort of pacify these lands, and that's where we come in. That's where we're going to be burning characters to sort of satisfy a group who's been given these charters, signed off by the leaders in the south from a particular city called Restov, that also have the authority of the regent. And from there, we're going to kind of jump into our game. So sorry for spieling for like 20 minutes, but if you imagine for 1 second sort of the beginning of the Lord of the Rings, when it's like, it is a time, and just imagine just flash scenes of epic battles and dragons coming down, and then these houses and people like wheeling and dealing in intrigue, and that's where we're going to start now. Okay.
This is the first half of the Song in Fire and Ice, is basically what you're telling us?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. I had to make a nerd reference.
No,
Apologize.
totally.
There will be a lot of those.
Please, we're playing Burning Wheel online. Yeah. I think nerd references are required at this point. So
just wait until we get into anything remotely Skyrim-y, and I'll be your man.
Oh boy, Albert. I just looked over and saw, I suppose this is quite an airy situation. Yeah. So this is, by the way, this is Burning Wheel, which is a game by Luke Crane. It's a game that is strongly driven by its characters. It doesn't really concern itself with balancing and gaining levels and power and that kind of stuff. It's more about skills and your beliefs and how your beliefs drive who you are. So what you'll be seeing today is that we're going to be coming up with characters of pretty different backgrounds, and what you might think of like power levels, but you can see how the game kind of balances all together and allows you to really tell a story like you would see in your Le Guin kind of fantasies, like Wizard of Earthsea stuff, or Game of Thrones kind of fantasies, or even like The Witcher.
Very, very heavily inspired by Tolkien in the way it treats characters and people.
Yeah. Oh, so here's some things, though, that we need to go over real quick, right? So there won't be any elves in our game, or like orcs or dwarves. It's a human-only game. I'm not to say that there aren't elves and dwarves. It's just that we're playing strictly, this is a human-dominated country and society. The rest of the Pathfinder world, for purpose of this game, don't really exist, or I don't really expect them to. Mostly we concern ourselves with sort of the regional stuff up Brevoy, the barbarian lands to the east and west, and then the river kingdoms to the south. That's kind of going to be our scope of our game, I think. So, anyways, yeah. So let's kind of jump into characters. I know we were talking a lot. I'm so excited to actually like get into this now. We were talking a lot about like formulating some ideas and what we want. So who wants to go first and kind of start going over describing who we want to be and start filling some stuff out?
Do we have a Roll20 where we're...
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you
For some
have
reason I don't have that. Can someone slide it to me on Discord?
No problemo.
Not to break up this discussion, but
There you
if
go.
you want someone to
Not to
get
break up the discussion.
character, by the way, you know, there is one particular character I happen to know quite well.
Oh, God. Let's do it. Let's get it over with, like ripping off a Band-Aid.
Yep.
That's a little strong.
What a foul thing to say, Wreckage, to your noble lord.
I think the audience at home can already tell why this is going to be pulling teeth.
I will, of course, be representing a businessman of noble birth whose house has recently fallen under his control. His Eminence, Count Ronald of the House of Swan. I stand for freedom. It is in the words of my people. And if we need to hunt bandits and tame this land, we shall do it with a wave of coin and words. Possibly backed by a flood of blood. You know,
Yes.
the words and the coins come first. That's the important part.
And then the butt blood.
Then the
By gold or by blood?
by gold or by blood.
Yo, what are your house's words? What are the words of House Swan?
The words of House Swan, I'm glad you asked. The words of House Swan are the proud and free. Pride and freedom are very important to us.
And just so we know for everybody, where does House Swan fall into sort of like the Rosalind-Isia conflict? Like, where are they?
Well, House Swan is a long-time banner house of House EricVulgaris, the true leaders of the nation. The two-headed dragon is their particular sigil, and we are looking to find any surviving heirs of the Rogarvian legacy so that they may once again rule our country with reason and justice.
Awesome. Yes. So you are.
These Sertovian upstarts believe that they have some right to rule because they married into the Rogarvian bloodline, as if.
Awesome.
As if.
Yeah. So you're playing one of the minor houses that were ruled by. Like, you know, imagine, like, you know, how you had, like, the houses under a duke, you know, like, imagine, like, houses under House Stark or houses under House Lannister or anything like that, or,
Hey,
like, the phrase
you're like
under
the
the Tullys.
Karstarks.
Yeah, you're the Karstarks. Like, you're, like, a bannerman of this house that no longer has anybody. And since then, and keep in mind, like, these guys are mostly barbarian-type people, so there has been a little bit of turmoil, political laddering, maneuvering has occurred in the small interim. We're approximately a couple years after the disappearance, right? So it's pretty tumultuous in terms of a time for this going on. But it's also a time of sort of like consolidating and reconciling. And once again, there's going to be like a king's moot in the next year or so to solidify the claim of House Rotova. So
Eric, you may have already said this. Just to help the audience out and me, because I don't actually know, what is the sort of like time aesthetic we're going for? Are we kind of going for like a Dark Ages or maybe more of a Renaissance-y feel?
Yeah. So this time, it's a little bit like, I guess Game of Thrones would be the closest we should be aiming for.
Okay.
And Game of Thrones represents a medieval, feudal house and lord system. It's pre-Renaissance.
Okay. So pre-Renaissance, but we're not like,
Not dealing with the Black Plague.
Yeah, okay. That works for me. I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Sort of like your idyllic medieval fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question. Yeah, Dragon Age-esque, but a little bit less magical.
Well, yeah, because Dragon Age is ridiculous, but
we're going for a light magic here.
Light magic,
magic light, now with less midichlorians.
Oh, God.
Awesome. So thank you. So AP is going to be playing Count Ronald of House Swan. I'm going to go ahead and bring over to the game screen.
His Eminence.
Yes.
Eminence the Lord High.
So I'm just gonna do a quick little like type thing here so everyone can keep track of who's gonna be who. Because I'm going to have to update everything when we're done.
Okay, let me... Oh, you're doing that on the stream. Oh, no, you're not doing that on the stream. You're doing that on Roll20.
Well, yes, and both.
Well, okay. Magic of the internet, everybody.
Yes. Okay, so AP, you're gonna be playing Count Ronald of House Swan. Do you know what sort of like your life paths are gonna be right now?
I do indeed know what path my life has taken to this point.
Yes.
Noble born, I spent some time in the court as a courtier. From there, I moved on to house financing as a merchant, and with my incredible business savvy, moved on to success as a magnate. And I've recently taken my place as the head of my house. I know some say that my house is very minor, on decline. We only have one moderately sized estate, but those folks tend to not have a drop of noble blood.
So my question for you, Count Ronald, then, what's your family like right now? Do you have like brothers and sisters? Are you the old? So you're the oldest, right?
I am the eldest. My younger sister, Emma Swan, mysteriously disappeared some time ago. Some say she joined the bandits in the area we're about to head to. I'm not sure if that's true or not, or maybe I do, and I'm just lying directly to you.
All I know is if that's true, my character will really like her.
How quaint.
She'll be into that.
Yes. Okay.
My house tends to have a very large family of cousins and second cousins and such. Mostly it extends to the large number of peasants we caretake for.
Yeah. Someone was asking in chat if we're going to be using the Roll20 provided character sheets, and we are. I have it set up to be everyone's characters here to set up and customize. I'm just trying to write out a quick little list of who we're all going to be. And so I have a couple more questions for AP, just so we all get a cool idea for your character then. How does your family see your decision? So you're like the head of your house, and you're going on this mission, right? How do they see you doing this? You know, like... do folks think that it might be weird?
I'll admit some of the servants do believe that it's good for me to get out of the house so that maybe they have a vacation for the first time in a while. My suppliers and other merchant folk are concerned that my leaving may cause disruptions. And my extended family, some laugh and call me a buffoon for having accepted or been forced into this particular expedition, but others recognize the glory of my birthright and the fact that I will be the highest ranking noble attending this expedition. Therefore, it is the Ronald expedition.
I don't believe that that's necessarily true.
Yeah, we'll see what everyone else is bringing to the table here, and I'm sure we'll have other questions. And of course, Sam, Wreckage, and MTO, if you guys have any questions for AP's character right now, like, feel free to like prod him and get some better feels for our characters here. Because otherwise, then I just want to get a quick little like the summary part of our character burning, what our ideas are for our characters.
What is a magnate?
A magnate is a man or woman who has done quite well in business, accumulating wealth, business contacts. In my case in particular, I've gotten quite good at supplying everyone with what they need to be happy.
Yeah. You are Littlefinger, aren't you?
I may have some relation to this Peter Baelish, but in fact my character is more based off of the governor from Pocahontas.
Yes.
And
exactly.
Shalon Davar from the Stormlight Archives.
So you're a combination of imperialists and whoremonger, is what you're telling me.
So
I greatly enjoy making fun of you for
The
that.
whoremongering thing doesn't apply to someone who is actually born with noble birth, unlike Baelish character.
So his life paths are born noble and courtier, and then he goes into city dweller for merchant and magnate. So does that actually make him the highest ranked noble?
I was born a count, and
All right.
I am extremely and fantastically wealthy.
Yeah, it sounds... So here's something I want to ask you. So it sounds like if you were going into becoming a merchant, you probably weren't the eldest. But maybe is it like a situation where circumstances have led you to become your
No, I think I was in fact the eldest.
Okay.
My family is not one that has
Oh!
weapons and training. Our finances were struggling when I was a youth, and I made a decision to bolster those finances in order to survive the house.
Okay, I got it. I got you then. Okay. So
Quite
yeah, so
literally the merchant
you know
prince.
how like there's that sort of like idea of being a noble and the idea that you're touching money is kind of below you, right? That's not
Yes.
true for you.
That's not true for me
Yeah,
at
okay.
all. I know others, particularly those who are doctors or are wreckages, may look down on my character for our skill at haggling and accounting, but our management of estates is what keeps the nobility afloat.
Awesome.
We
Cool.
provide for our people. We don't expect our people to provide for us.
I hope that's a belief because that's pretty good.
Hashtag
All right. Cool. Let's just go down real quick and continue on. I want to hear what everyone else wants to play, and I'm sure the audience wants to hear what everyone else is playing too. So let's just go down in order. Sam, who are you playing today?
All right. So I have not actually come up with a full name yet. I know that he's going to have a lot of middle names as a noble will, but he is Demetrius of House Sertova, Father Demetrius to be exact. My character concept for the burner is the political priest. So Demetrius was the third son of a branch of the Sertova house. So, still very high-ranking noble. But, there's money to send. The first son gets trained up to run the house. Maybe the second son gets a commission bought in the army. And the third son gets sent to the church, right?
Yeah.
So, Demetrius ended up as a religious acolyte in his youth.
Yeah.
Then, once instead of, I think at this point in his life, he was, a little bit ready to get out of away from the court a little bit for a while. He was maybe a little bit miffed that he wasn't so involved with the actual political aspects of the house, and so he went to an actual to the city to become a priest there instead of being a court priest.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it was there he ended up.
I'm sorry. How did your family take that?
I think they almost were a little bit at first. They were relieved because I was trying to insert myself in stuff that I really didn't have any business being.
Oh, okay. So you were always that guy who got left out of the fucking scheming and plotting.
Right. So,
okay.
So to give some background, this character started off in one place and went a completely different direction. But there's definitely a little bit of Tyrion Lannister in there. A little bit of a character called Father Yarvi from Joe Abercrombie's books, the Shattered Sea trilogy. If anyone has read those, very good books.
Leafington brought up this point for you, Sam. It's the heir and the spare, and the third one gets sent off.
Exactly.
Heir and the spare.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So because the heir might die in even in a joust, right? The heir might die, so you got to have someone else around.
Yeah. Insurance.
But yeah. So
it.
and then the third concept that ties it all around is I was listening to a podcast, Hardcore History, if you're familiar with that, and there's an episode about sort of the fallout after Martin Luther's
Reformation. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the big things were these people who decided that the apocalypse was coming, It was like the first start of that. And so I think when he was out in the city, Demetrius sort of fell in and discovered these ideas that the disappearance of the Regarvias and the ruling line was a sign that something big is coming. And that's why his belief is he's a priest of Abadar, which is a priest of civilization and commerce and cities. And he basically has come to this belief that the only way to survive this coming storm is to prop up civilization, build high walls so that we can have something to hide behind.
Faith in the god of cities and civilization.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then after that, his family sort of realized that he was falling in with a group that they maybe were not super happy about, and like the fact that this group had a Sertova that believed what they did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that
like
makes perfect sense, because if someone of House Sertova is yelling doom and gloom when you're trying to legitimize your throne, it's probably not the best, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So you're getting kind of like pushed off.
Right, and so then they brought me back to the court and decided that I should be a doctor, and so I spent some time as a court doctor, and basically I was like a tournament doctor. So since this is a time of relative peace, I imagine there'd be lots of like, the Sertovas are trying to cement their claim. They're trying to do the political schmoozing. So, you have a tournament, you have everyone bring their finest knights, and there's a joust, and someone always gets hurt. So, someone always ends up, taking a little stab wound or.
Yeah. You're the chirurgeon.
A little stab wound.
Yeah, just a minor stab wound.
Just a 6-inch splinter in the eye. I'm sure he'll recover.
Exactly. So that's where I finished out, and I sort of found myself rediscovering my political machinations when I got back to court, and so that's sort of the main conflict in this character is like, he has these political aspirations, but he kind of explains them away to himself by saying, "Oh, I'm just preparing for this coming thing. I'm just trying to cement my family's claims so that we have someone to protect us."
You're trying to do what's right so we can survive the storm that's coming, right? That's what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Yeah, right? but there's a lot of the self-service there that's sort of covered up by that too.
Oh, okay.
And that's the conflict.
Awesome. So what are your life paths?
My life paths are born noble, religious acolyte, priest, court doctor. So I'll be patching people up when they get cut up, as I'm sure we'll find out from Wreckage's character soon.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, no, I like that, because there's something that I wanted to add a little bit about the fiction. So House Sertova is allied with a particular sect of Abadar, in order to help legitimize their claim and like push to become king. They Abadar is kind of like the good god of civilization and like law and order, but they kind of are following this sort of like letter of the law rather than spirit of the law, sort of like interpretations of Abadarian text, and they're very much like order is super important. We can't be regents. We have to have a king kind of like approach, and so like they're not necessarily like openly heretical, but it's a little bit weird. And I want to know whether or not your doom and gloom thing falls under that sort of umbrella, or this is like a different umbrella of Abadarian faith.
So I think the group that I'm with is relatively small. I think that there's kind of some agreement on both sides, basically. So I think like that sect seems like very much like, all right, like we need the king, we need order, and we need law. And there's probably another group that's like, well, law and order are great, but what we really need is commerce and the free market. And then my group is kind of like, well, yes, commerce is very important and order and law are key, but they are all outgrowths of, the true nature of it, which is civilization itself. Right. And so it's like
the like the Hobbesian contract against nature.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Alright.
So it's like, and it's like, what we really need to do is we need to focus on all bringing that stuff together, to, so like, it's a lot of like, we agree on what needs to be done and don't agree on why it needs to be done. And so, but I think that that was part of the problem, is that I wasn't falling in line with exactly what they wanted, which is to send me off to join and cement their allyship with this
Cool.
sect.
Yeah, so maybe you can totally go with this or not. Perhaps they saw your sort of, like, when you returned as a court doctor. Perhaps they saw you as someone who they recognize your aptitude, and maybe your house is kind of like, hey, do this and help us be, have a presence there.
Yeah, I think that's part of
in
it
this
for sure.
this new kingdom that we're going to be making, right? They're like, yeah, hey, here's a chance to prove yourself now. It's not necessarily like, oh boy, I just don't want to look at this mistake. It's more like, actually, he might be useful. This might be a way we can get him in there.
I think it might be a little bit of both. Like, I think it might be some of that, but it's also like,
of course,
all right, like, this is a pretty hard mission. So, like, either he'll come back and it'll be like, great, and it's like, great, the problem's dealt with. We have it dealt with, and they give him his reward. Or it'll be like, oh no, you failed.
Oh,
I
shit.
guess you gotta go do something else now. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's like getting rid of the problem either way.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Yeah, and that's definitely something that Sertova would scheme. So, for purposes of, like, our game and analogs, House Sertova is kind of like House Lannister, only they don't have the money. But they have the ambition. They're a little bit more like, well, I don't know, but I don't know what their proper analog exactly would be, but yeah, they're very cunning. They always were the largest house of Isthia, and so when the Conquerors showed up, they kind of like parlayed with them and actually like joined the Conqueror immediately without really fighting, with the promises being like, hey, yeah, I won't fight you, give me some perks and just make sure I keep in power, right? And I'll just throw everyone else under the bus. Kind of, they're that kind of person, right? Like that's what they do. Their house words are like, ours is the right. So it's very, very, very much a, whatever, winning is all that matters is to House Sertova, right? Like that's very much is their thing, because it's their right to have it and they'll get it any way possible.
We controlled this country before they crossed the water with their dragons, and we'll do it long after they're gone.
Yeah, right? I know. I see AP shaking his head because there's a Rosslander. Yeah, I know. It's so good. I love it.
It's interesting because you actually probably know my character then.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. We're gonna go in order, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm really excited to hear it too.
I have some questions about his character.
Okay.
Okay.
So, as a priest of civilization, turn one monument, shrine, or scout.
You gotta go monument because then you can get the better upgrade with tradition.
Scout.
Come on.
Scout.
No.
It's gotta be scout. It's gotta be
No.
scout. It's gotta be scout.
It's always
Oh, you
scout,
gotta think
dog.
of the
It's
long
always
game.
scout. Scout first. Scout first.
No,
Yeah.
this is the talk of men who do not go for early game, great library. So everyone knows you open monument.
Yeah,
So for those
open
who
monument, first tech, go straight to reading.
yeah, for those who don't get what we're talking about, it's a joke about a game called Civilization. Anyways, yeah, wreckage.
Sorry, didn't want to derail that too much,
yeah.
but that joke was.
That was a good joke.
Had to be done.
Yeah. Wreckage. So what? Who are you playing today?
Well, so let me preface this by saying that I am the latecomer. So there's a few unanswered questions about my character still as far as the specific mechanics, but there has been quite a lot of enthusiastic world building. I am born noble. We hadn't talked about the house that I belong to, but I want to throw this out here right now, Eric.
Yeah.
I want to say that I belong to House Solstind.
Okay.
Now, you may remember that name from the document that I sent you.
No, I don't.
All right,
So let's
that's
just work it out, and it'll work fine. It'll be fine. So
All right, so I am Onan Solstend. I am born noble, raised as a page and then a squire, and I have moved into the service of the Church of Enlightened Goramism. Now, other Pathfinder players might be familiar with the god Gorum. He is the strength and fighty and gonna F you up god. He's very straightforward. He's very brutal. He's very literally made of iron.
He's like Crom, if you guys know Conan, right?
Crom,
he's like
Conan.
Battle is all that matters. You know what I mean?
The god of the Klingons in Star Trek. It's to say that it has been done before is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah.
But we exist in a world that doesn't have elves. We exist in a world that probably doesn't have dwarves. We exist in a slightly different Pathfinder world, and as a result, we have Eric has given us a little bit of freedom in world building, and in that, I wrote up a new sect of Gorum that is interesting as opposed to one-dimensional punch your skull in.
Yeah.
Enlightened Goramism basically jives civilization with the concept of strength. It recognizes that a group is stronger than an individual, an army is stronger than a group, and a nation is stronger than an army. So it focuses on what strength actually is. It's a religious sect that, while still about fighting and being the strongest and respecting the strong and having the strong be at the top of society, it meditates on what it means to be strong. I
think I have a good way of phrasing it. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? So the idea of being a nation is stronger than just a particular group. So being able to tactics, right? It's like the ability to have more people and organize in a way that's structured. Well, it's I kind of picture enlightened Goramism would be like Prussia, right?
It's sort of like
very military autocracy complex, right? And force projection, Bismarckian kind of politics style, right? Back up everything with army maneuvers. Training exercises on your borders, kind of like that's enlightened Goramism to me. What do you think?
You're not wrong, and I think the clear distinction, right? If you build off of that basic Gorum, that basic Crom that everybody sort of understands, the basic Gorum, the basic Crom, they would take a weak person, a sickly person, or a disabled person, and they would be like, "You have no place in society. You are just dragging everybody down because you're weak, and therefore you're irrelevant," and cast them out. And enlightened Goramism says, well, no, that person being in our society, if you actually play to your strengths, will make the entire nation stronger. So let us take an individual and not just ask, are they strong, but ask, what type of strength do they have?
So another way of looking at it would be like an enlightened Sparta.
Yeah, it's like Sparta if it kept going and it was like, okay, this isn't actually sustainable, right? Like throwing out our weak kids kind of not working out here.
Yeah, but okay.
What can the weak kids do? Oh, he doesn't have legs, but he's super smart. Well, that means he has strength.
Good, be a quartermaster. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's enlightened Goramism.
Right. So noble. So what was your last life path? I didn't write it down. I had noble, page, squire, knight.
Now we're not sure because during character creation we thought that I had to take military order in order to have doctrine, but we've realized that that's not.
Enlightened Goramism is like a gym with the delusion of society. Yeah, the gym nation.
So
it's CrossFit. It's the end game of CrossFit.
I originally took military order as my fourth life path, but knight is now on the table because I could still have doctrine. But those are some things to talk about.
Church doctrine.
I have to swear homage if I'm a knight, which I haven't considered what that would mean. With military order, I get an extra belief.
You could be a knight. You could be a knight of your order of Goramites, right? So you could follow a And so we were talking about this a little bit about how the Gorum Church would be set up. And the idea that there's bishops of battle, and so each of the bishops has a different specialty with a weapon. So,
let me talk my way there, Eric.
Yeah, okay.
So Onan Solstend is literally a descendant of Thrain Solstin, who codified Reformed Goramism or Enlightened.
Oh
Goramism.
man, you were like, oh wow, okay.
So House Solstin believes in Goramism to the very core of its foundation. However, as a result of that, they don't just automatically become bishops in the church just because they are of the line of Solstin. They have always been bishops in the church, but every single generation has earned it. Earning bishophood in the church, there are several bishops of the Church of Enlightened Goramism. There is a bishop for every martial combat style.
Yeah.
Based on weapons. So there is a bishop of swords, a bishop of axes, a bishop of maces, a bishop of bows, etc.
I mean, can it be the Bishop of Blades? Like, can we be real?
Yeah,
Bishop
like,
of Blades sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, bishop of blades, bishop of hammers or something, just to codify all maces or whatever.
But yeah,
so that is the
the
structure
Bishop of Bludgeoning.
That is the structure of the church, and the path, the sort of priesthood up to bishop is there isn't a priesthood. You're warriors.
Yeah. So would be like so the cardinal of the bishops, would they be like the master at arms, or like they have like some kind of like name because like they know style, like who runs the is the bishops more like an oligarchical, like they just like meet together as a group?
So,
or is there like, what's the hierarchy like? Who's the highest person in the church?
So the archbishop is the strongest of the bishops.
Yeah.
And that is not compared like not across weapons. Like if I am the Bishop of Blades and I can beat every other bishop in a fight, I am the archbishop. And the Bishop of Blades is the current archbishop. Then all the other bishops are the sort of council beneath him. And then there's like, we haven't come up with names, but like cardinals.
So you know what? You know when like they get oh my god, can this be a thing? So imagine, you know how like when we're electing a new pope, right? Like the papal sort of like college of cardinals gets together.
Yeah.
Is it like similar for Gorham? Only it's like WrestleMania.
Exactly. It's like, WrestleMania. It's like the archbishop died.
Yeah. 10 bishops enter, 1 bishop leaves. And he like comes, like he doesn't kill him, but like, he like wins all the competitions and stuff like that, right? Like is that like a thing? Is that like a
Yeah, so anytime that any of the bishops die, they have to elect a new bishop of that weapon type. It's probably already known who the next best person is, so they come up into the council. But now that the council's changed, there's another power struggle for archbishop because the new guy could now be the strongest.
How prevalent is this? Is this the de facto creed of Gorham? Are you like an upstart thing? You know what I mean? Like, how do you relate to the rest of Brevoy and Gorham as a whole for the situation, right?
To some extent, I will leave that up to you. But what I will say is that this religion was codified like 400 years ago. It was a response to a period of time in Avestan where tribal Gorhamism was coming into like city Gorhamism. Because there were still people who, in Avestan, which is a very warlike continent, is very warlike. So there was city Gorhamism, which was like, oh yeah, well I'm a strong soldier dude. And then there was tribal Gorhamism, which was like, you have bread, I want bread.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
kill you and take
that's
your
like
bread.
So the barbarians of our world, we're flanked on both sides of countries that are completely full of barbarians. They worship Gorham, and they're more of like the tribal Gorham.
So this whole reformed Gorham movement was like, okay, we've got this influx of tribal people who believe a much harsher version of Gorhamism than we do, and it's not working out. It's causing destabilization in our society. So the specifics are lost to history, but Thrain Solstin basically stepped up and codified a new, like, I'm the strongest, which means I can say what Gorhamism is. And this is what Gorhamism is. It's actually the strength of a people's, not the strength of an individual. And therefore, you going around and stealing people's bread just because you're strong isn't actually making us all stronger. It's making us all weaker.
All right, so let's talk about your last life path then.
Yeah, so I could either be a knight or a militant order at this point.
Which one sounds more up your alley then?
So the question comes down to mechanically, and I think this will be helpful for people at home who don't know Burning Wheel. mechanically, what would it mean to have sworn homage, and mechanically, what would it mean to have an extra belief? Because those are the differences between those two life paths. Besides the minutia of like a couple extra resource points or what have you.
Well, the extra. Well, I don't think that's minutia, but depending on what your character's goals are. But I am always a fan of having an extra belief because you earn Artha by having extra beliefs, and especially when you have Arthas that are beliefs that are in conflict with one another. It's a really easy way, when you have diametrically opposing beliefs of being like, I will always act selflessly for my people, and then to be like, I will always protect myself, and it's like, whoa, what happened? How do you justify and rectify those two?
What is the typical number of beliefs for a character? So typically you have 3, so you get a 4th one if I sworn to the order, which just is more chances to earn Artha, which is a...
That's the
experience points.
That's experience in Burning Wheel. That's how you level up in Burning Wheel, right?
Right.
You earn yourself fate points, persona points, deed points, and then finally epiphanies. So.
All right. And if I were to be a knight instead, not that I hold that option higher.
Yeah, that I have to look up because I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, well, so it says I have to have sworn homage is the required trait of knighthood.
Oh, okay, it's a trait. Yeah, I'll find it real quick.
It means you are like. I'm pretty sure it means you've got like a lord that you're sworn to. But
yeah,
it's sworn directly to the king.
348, Eric.
Yep, I got it.
Of course, in our setting, there's no current king. So, and what does that mean, right? Like,
this is literally like you're a bannerman to another house.
Sertova.
So you can be sworn to any house. I'll let you be sworn to any house that you want.
But it would be sworn to a house and not to the country in general, for example.
No.
Right.
I mean you're sworn to the country, then sworn to the king, then sworn to your duke, then sworn to your other house, and depending on where you are in the hierarchy.
So, for the sake of the character, despite the fact that I could still have all the same skills...
You can be sworn to a church. Like, that's possible.
Yeah, well, so that's sort of where I was going to go with that line of thought. I guess I would rather not be sworn to a person because my first duty is to enlighten Gormism and myself. So I guess if we could swear to the church, then it would just be 13 extra resource points. Otherwise, I should probably take the militant order so that I can...
one means you have a boss, right? Like an actual boss that requires you to do things on occasion.
Also, to be clear, there is a mechanical benefit because you do get a 1D die trait affiliation in the nobility that will stack with your mark of privilege. So that means you start with 2I affiliation.
Yes.
Interesting. Oh man, this is a real tough decision, and I'm feeling pressured for time. Hey, let's talk about other aspects of my character while I make this. If
you want, we can go quickly and jump over and talk to Michael about Michael's character and why you think it over.
I think we should do that, but I will finish up with a piece of thing that we didn't actually mention. My character comes in with a squad, and the nature of the squad is there is one user of each weapon in the squad, and these squads are part of enlightened Gormism. They go out with the next level aspiration of we're all going to be the bishops, right? Because you're the guy with the sword, you're the guy with the bow, you're the guy with the mace, you're the guy with the hammer, etc. So I'm the one bringing the manpower for this expedition. I have a squad of men who are all good with weaponry, and that is what I have paid for on my character. And also my sister is in the squad. She's my second in command, and perhaps as a bit of a tradition in House Solstend, there is a incestuous relationship there.
To afford it. Yeah, welcome to Burning Wheel. In order to afford certain things, you have to make a couple key concessions.
It's very Game of Thrones.
We will...
It's not the Lannisters, but...
we will certainly be veiling, I think, a lot of that as necessary, right? So, but yeah, that will be something to deal with. I think because you have a squad, mechanically, your guys all have to be, I think, half the number of life paths as you.
So there was big contention about how this works in the Discord because gangs and crews work differently than just a random group of people. So I will.
Are you taking a circle and an affiliation instead? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Continue.
Yes, he is.
I don't know what I'm doing. I have a gang
relationship and an affiliation, and he chose a someone to lead the gang. He did exactly what gangs and crews said.
Yes.
Yeah, he did it right. I made him
pick a bodyguard for 10 resource points. He got a crew
for a lot more resource points.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yep.
I'm supposed to push someone out a tower window after being caught banging my sister. So make that happen, episode 1, Eric. The fans demand.
It'll probably be my character, knowing my luck.
All right.
Just saying. Does that mean go?
You're not gonna push. Okay. No. All right. Anyway, sorry. I was reading chat, and it's the first episode of when we actually play. You're literally gonna be watching Ruckage's PC banging his sister and then pushing a kid out the window. No.
Yeah, I'm expecting that wholeheartedly. I will
Make it happen.
Right. But yeah, so Michael, let's go to you in the meantime, because let's go to you. We'll talk a little bit, then we'll go to break, and then we'll come back and continue our discussions. But yeah, I want to get you in.
Sure thing. Let me mark my page in my Burning Wheel Gold book because I've been writing a lot of stuff down while you all were talking. So my character's name is Lauren Tall. She's well, we were talking about how we kind of have the main countries in this setting. And because I'm this kind of player, I was just like, nah. And she is nobility actually from a different country. She's foreign born. She's from the region to the west of where we are now, called Numeria. I believe that's how I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yep, it's Numeria.
Numeria. She's Numerian. She's a Numerian noble. She was the daughter of like the chiefess of a clan that was wiped out actually by raiders from the country where we are now.
Yes. Well, Brevoy has been in constant fighting with the tribes of Numeria. To give you guys an idea of Numeria and what it kind of looks like, think of like blasted Mad Maxian like style, like dust storms, the Badlands of North Dakota, very like shrubby, just dry near rocky desert. It's extremely harsh to live there.
Mm-hmm. We were not known for being nice, for sure, but she, to her knowledge, watched all or most of her family die in the raid, and then because she was like a kid at the time, the raiders kind of took her and did what you naturally do in a Game of Thrones setting, and you make them a harem slave. And so she did that for a while, suffered at the hands of some undisclosed house that I haven't decided yet, got the tar beat out of her, and then she escaped by poisoning her master and sort of went on the run as a poisoner until she eventually found employment through the queen and was invited to come to court.
That's so good. I'm
so bad.
I kind of see you as what's her name? Almost kind of like, I don't know. Like some people who would work for like Daenerys Targaryen. Right?
I don't know. She's very Arya Stark to me right now.
That's true too. Like Arya Stark.
She is a little Arya Stark, maybe a little bit less psychopathic.
Yeah.
But I do have the trait by requirement off kilter, so maybe I'm not.
So where are you at right now in terms of your life?
I have just gotten through doing a stint as a courtier where I served the queen and acted as within the palace, sort of a master of whispers, because the queen regent is not technically in control. She needs some degree of security to make sure her brother doesn't try anything too stupid.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so I have been charged with monitoring this expedition, establishing a network of spies in the area where we're going called the Stolen Lands.
Yes.
Possibly doing some other nefarious stuff that I will surprise the audience with later.
So while Father Demetrius, this is like the perfect part about House Rotova. So while Father Demetrius might be sort of like the face of House Rotova, influence in the area, Lorenthal is the insurance policy. Right?
I am the insurance policy.
Yeah, right. You are absolutely making sure.
I have birds on the wind, and
so
they'll kill people.
I'm curious, before we go to our break, so what were your life paths? And what, I guess I want to know, do you have like a disguise for like, what is your role in sort of like the group with the charter and stuff like that? Like, what do people, like, what do people call you? Like, are you supposed to be sort of like a, I don't know, like, a scribe or... You know?
Well, she sort of it ties into a lot of things. So when her life paths were born noble, Numerian, clan chiefess, whatever. Then she went into harem slave under. Part of me almost wants to say House Sortova, but I don't think so, because that would be way too fucking complicated. So harem slave, poisoner, which is an outcast life path and can lead into courtier.
So you went born noble into... I'm sorry, you went born noble and... I was copying over the map. I missed the first part. So you went into poisoner?
Born noble, harem slave, poisoner, courtier.
What a life.
Yeah. My concept for this character was slave turned spy master. And the only way I could actually have enough resource points to get, so I actually had spies, was to go this route. But it actually created a really interesting character. And so I'm kind of hyped for it.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, by the way, and I probably should have described this before we went to our break, Burning Wheel is a game that's made based on, instead of like picking a character class, you pick life paths. And the number of life paths sort of indicates the sort of like power level or the amount of competency your characters could be at. And what I did was we just picked the average four. 4 life paths is sort of the de facto common one. If you wanted to play teenagers or something like that, you should just do like 2 life paths. If you want to play like some epic, like Lord of the Rings Crusade, some kind of stuff, maybe like 6 or 7 or 8 life paths even. And just kind of go from there. But no, we're doing 4. And it's really cool to see how everyone's trying to weasel as many things as they can into their life paths. I really love our group right now. Yeah.
Before we go, you asked what my position is within the company, so to speak.
Yes.
I think it depends on who you ask. I'm fairly confident that Sam, what's your character's name again?
Father Demetrius.
I'm fairly confident Father Demetrius knows I'm there for some other reason, but doesn't know what. I think Lord Swan simply assumes I'm the cook.
Fetch and carry girl.
Yeah, like, are you really supposed to be just sort of like domestic servant for these people on the journey?
I have the skill cook.
Yeah,
and,
right.
You know, if you want to get information out of people, listen to them while they're eating.
Sure, but like, I guess what I'm still wondering then, so what would Count Ronald, when they see like the list of names on this expedition, they see your name, what is your occupation next to that name? Is it courtier, like of House Rotova? Is that too
my
obvious?
understanding is that she has mark of privilege as a young woman of noble birth. It's
I think as far as
it's good to have a cook that has some drops of noble blood. She knows what we'll enjoy.
I think the general assumption is that I've been going under is no one's exactly sure. I think they would probably just received an order that said, "Hey, she's coming with you."
Yeah, my question is like, is it we don't know if she's a spy person?
I don't know.
Yeah, like that's the fundamental question is like, do people know you're a spy or not on this mission?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And again, Sam's character might know something's up, but I don't know if he would know the specifics of why I'm here.
Okay, cool.
I mean, probably part of your job is to make sure that I don't go back to my proclivities of being a crazy apocalyptic priest. So, like,
Yeah. You're supposed to just be keeping tabs on the entire direction that they're going and making sure that it's in Sertova's best interests.
Yeah, I am.
That
I am
the
making
country
sure
that you guys are founding are
Mhm.
favorable to the situation.
I'm the hand that steers the direction of the ship, so to speak.
Boy, it's almost like poor Count Ronald is getting set up to fail by House Sertova. Oh boy.
I know
Easy
that's
though,
what they
easy though, because I could have ulterior motives. You guys don't know
Oh
yet.
yeah.
look, all I want is to bring civilization to a wild land.
I know, like you're like the idealist. It's so good.
As long as
I mean,
if
I
that's
also want to bring civilization to this land, just in a very different way.
that's
the way
the
that
thing,
lines
though,
your
is,
coffers.
Sam's character is idealist, but his religion definitely also allows for enslavement of children for sexual purposes. So, like,
I mean, like, civilization is defined as civilization is defined.
Yeah, he doesn't. Abadar doesn't judge the social contract that gets written. It's the
that it exists.
the belief, the existence of the social contract is what matters.
Mhm.
Everything else there is the pursuit of perfect civilized society, right? Everyone has to start somewhere.
I think every member of the Church of Abadar would agree that slavery is to be abhorred. I mean, the only way that you can have people engaging in commerce is if they have money to spend, right? I mean, you only need to pay them, like, a penny a week.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like so I'm pretty sure that we're gonna play a game where so far that like slavery is basically outlawed if you're brevish, but like if you're a barbarian then you could be enslaved, right? Like you're treated less than
Yeah, I'm not a. It's very. I think she's very much a different ethnicity than everyone here.
yeah.
I'm sort of imagining her kind of Middle Eastern, while I feel like everyone else is fairly European.
Yeah.
So
are we all British, like in Game of Thrones?
It's possible.
no.
Standard fantasy British.
Yeah.
Oi! I'm here to smash barbarian head.
I mean, like I said, like the big touchdowns though would be more Eastern European though. So
Mhm.
Like,
It feels
then
very.
I don't know if I can do that accent.
The setting as it stands feels very Witcher or Dragon Age esque.
yeah.
Very much that sort of like darker, grittier things kind of suck fantasy than Tolkien. We're going on a grand journey. I'm going to smoke my pipe and blow smoke rings.
Yeah. It's very less that Tolkien-esque fantasy and a little bit more like darky fantasy.
Mhm.
So awesome. Okay, well, it's 12:14, so I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our first break, and we're gonna come back and start statting out our characters and getting wreckage set up with his last life path. So we'll see you guys in 5 minutes. Thank you so much for coming over and watching us burn some characters.